social science methodology expert, technology forecaster, consultant to world leaders. I'm talking today to the Oracle of Delphi. But I'm puzzled. I thought the Oracle was an old woman and that the Delphic tradition died out years ago.
You're partly right. The original oracles were old women, and in Delphi itself the tradition remained public until around 400 AD. We've kept it going since then as a franchise, giving military and economic advice to heads of state and so on. But we've kept that quiet for obvious security reasons.
And as the current holder of the official Oracle title, you're particularly interested in the applications of the so-called Delphi-type method in educational research.
Yes, we're particularly interested in online education because we see online prophecy as a major way of expanding our franchise.
Yeah. Do you supervise the Delphi research method when it's used to predict today's new and emerging educational technologies?
Not as yet, but we are monitoring it. We suspect that modern prophets are using the Delphi brand name for the sake of credibility, but that their use of the giveaway Delphi-type term may suggest departures from our official methodology.
How would you describe the traditional method?
Well, in Delphi, the oracles first inhale ethylene gas from fissures in the ground, then they go into a trance and they babble a lot. Their utterances are then interpreted by high priests according to official policy, and the predictions are passed on to the client.
Well, I'm happy to tell you that educational applications of the method have preserved that tradition. One well-known forecasting team collates examples of new and emerging media annually. These are then interpreted by an advisory board, including representatives of the hardware and software industries, and their official predictions are passed on to educators around the world.
While that's reassuring, we're also concerned that modern Delphi-type conclusions may be more susceptible to criticism than our original prophecies. By the old method, you see, the predictions were worded in a vague, ambiguous way to prevent critics from clearly identifying when the prophecies failed.
Well, that's the same today as well. The technology forecasting project I mentioned never discusses when its predictions fail. They say their focus is on the future,
and
not on the
past. In the old days, if a client acted on an oracular prediction with disastrous results, the vagueness of its wording allowed us to blame the client for misinterpreting it.
That still happens too. If a new and emerging technology fails after implementation, today's forecasters blame the lack of good software, infrastructure support and so on.
But there is another concern. We hear that modern technology forecasting teams include dozens of high priests from around the world rather than having cohesive local teams.
Well, you needn't worry about that. The selection of today's prophecy teams ensures that they have cohesive opinions, with most of the members coming from the same region, America usually.
Good. So minority views on the panel of experts are marginalised.
That's right. The Delphi-type method's consensus-building feature always ensures that extreme views and specialised knowledge are ignored.
Is it true today that modern technology forecasters have copied our old stratagem of claiming that their predictions have worldwide validity and reliability?
Yes.
Well, one thing they should remember is that in the olden days, worldwide meant just the region around the Mediterranean. We've always ensured that our Delphic prophecies are more or less credible by focusing them exclusively on the region that the local advisors actually know about.
Well, you're right. There is a concern today about the global validity of today's technology forecasts. One predominantly US team is suggesting that its conclusions about new and emerging media have worldwide relevance, but they ignore the powerful educational role played by traditional media such as video in countries like China and India, because Americans only see TV as an old educational medium that's failed.
I have noticed that a lot of today's conference speakers are talking about educational video.
Yes, and that places those US analysts in an embarrassing position, having ignored educational TV throughout the history of their prophecy reports.
Well, thank you. In general, you have set my mind at rest about modern uses of the Delphi method.
You and your colleagues in India can be very proud of the way modern forecasters are using your method.
Why are you talking about India?
Delphi's the capital of India.
That's Delhi.
Well, Holland then.
That's Delft. I'm from Delphi in Greece.
The Oracle of Delphi. Thank you for joining us.